Our next speaker is a Rangle person. Like, this is her hood. These are her people. No pressure. I mean, there's just so much pressure. Like, you have to come back here and face them all tomorrow. So try not to shame your people. Chandran. Uma is a technical director at Rangle. As a technical lead and people manager, she supports individuals and teams as they work towards both delivering quality solutions for clients and achieving their personal career goals. Outside of work, Uma is also a pilot. No, she's not. Uma spends her time volunteering with Bridge, a non-for-profit that teaches advanced programming and design to women, agender, and non-binary professionals for free in Toronto. Here to give us our second keynote of the night is Wrangle's own Uma.
Well, that was an introduction. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for having me tonight. I'm super nervous, just I need to say that out loud. So as was just mentioned, my name is Uma, and I am a technical director here at Rangle. And so my story, I guess I'll start with, at first glance, there are things about me that may make it seem straightforward that I'm in this senior technical role. My degree would show you that I have a major in computer science. My resume would show you that I actually spent 16 months during university interning at a large technical company. And my parents would tell you that they always supported me. They always encouraged me to do math and science. And yet, the first 6.5 years of my career were in non-technical roles. As you can guess from the theme of the event, and like many of our speakers, my career path has been anything but linear. In fact, I actually followed more of a zigzag pattern. Back and forth between sort of one side where I thought I could do exactly what I wanted to do, a combination of my interests that challenged me and used sort of both sides of my brain, and then the other side where I felt like I had to focus and just do one thing. So if you'll bear with me, I'm going to take you through a couple of years of my life and sort of demonstrate this path. So we started off when I was a kid. I really, really loved science and art. I loved playing on the computer, and I loved reading books. I loved figuring out how things worked and building them, and I loved writing stories. This wasn't a problem as a kid because you're encouraged to go for things, try different things, and figure out what interests you. It started to be a problem, or not a problem, a situation arose, is what I'd say, towards the end of high school. As most of you know, when you're looking to apply to university or college, you have to state what your intended program is. And I really struggled with this. This was the first time that I encountered the idea of a binary, that I had to choose between science or art, or tech or non-tech. And this was a real struggle because I liked both. My parents, who were immigrants to Canada, they brought us here for a chance at better lives and opportunities. They wanted me to pick the career path that seemed to guarantee better success, so engineering or science. But I, being a stubborn teenager, did not want to give up writing. But more importantly, what I realized later is actually I was impacted by all those things that we talk about when it comes to diversity in STEM. In my math and science classes, in the computer labs, and even in the competitions that I somehow was doing, I was often the only person who was not a man. Or, if there were others, we were in a small minority, maybe one or two of us. And to top it off, I have this memory that I can never let go of, where in one of those classes where I actually was the only girl, my math teacher was anything but inclusive or supportive. He actually mocked me when I was struggling. And yeah, that face. I'm never going to forget that, and it blows my mind as an adult today. But what this was teaching me as a teenager was that I didn't fit the mold. And when I thought ahead to doing computer science in university, it didn't matter what my parents said. I thought they were just telling me things to encourage me, whatever. To me, it felt like if I went and did that in university, it was going to be hard. I was never really going to fit in, and it was going to be way harder than it was in school. And so why would I pick that uphill battle, especially if I knew I was going to do it on my own? So I didn't. I ended up doing a media and information studies degree instead. So fast forward to the end of first year university. I actually really, really enjoyed learning media theory and communications, but I felt like I was missing something, and I felt like I wasn't entirely fulfilled. And what I realized is I missed problem solving. I missed working on the kind of work that you get to do in math and science. Thankfully, at the end of first year university, my school allowed you to modify your degree. So I was still going to do a Bachelor of Arts, but I added on a second major in computer science. Now, to be honest, I had no idea what I was going to do with that outside of school. I was just so excited to be able to do the things that interested me and to work on all the things that fulfilled me. So the next important step in my path was actually towards the end of second year. I somehow ended up at an information session about a communications internship at a large multinational technology company. And the two women doing the talk hung back afterwards to answer questions and talk to students individually. This probably was one of the first Move the Dial moments for me. It had a big impact on my life and my career, even though I didn't know it at the time. The two women were the first people outside of my family who were excited and encouraged me about this double major that I was doing. And so they were actually the first people who made me realize or start to think that maybe this combination was going to be something more than just something interesting to do at school. So I walked away feeling excited and motivated. And I actually ended up taking a break from school after third year to intern with them. And so for 16 months, I got my first experience working in the real world at a tech company, but in a non-technical role. So I was doing communications, but surrounded by developers and researchers. And it was the best experience for me at the time, and I'm so thankful I had it. So fast forward to my last year of university. I was super pumped. I came back from that internship feeling really motivated, but it didn't take very long for the same culture and feelings in the classrooms to bring me down. I felt insecure again and unsure. I knew that the end of school was coming and I was going to have to figure out what this career thing was. But even more than that, the same things were happening to me. After that successful communications internship, I thought, wouldn't it be really cool if I went and got a science internship and figured out what would it be like to be a developer in the real world, leave those dark old computer labs and see what it's really like. Unfortunately, because my degree was a Bachelor of Arts, when I went to the Department of Science, I was told that they couldn't help me. I wasn't registered as a Bachelor of Science student. I don't know to this day if I misunderstood or that person was wrong, but ultimately I walked away feeling demoralized. I felt like my major did not match up or was not worth as much as a Bachelor of Science, even though I had the same requirements and was in the same classrooms and computer labs. So I walked away again. I knew I had experience in communications, and I knew that I would fit in, and that gave me confidence. I knew that I could start working and focus on delivering and not have to start by focusing on proving that I belong there. So that's what I did. I did a postgraduate certificate in corporate communications and public relations and started working in the field. And I loved it. I actually never once regretted my decision because it was one of my passions. And so I got to work with some really smart people in a variety of industries and companies. But over time, I started to notice a pattern. People, whether they were my managers, my peers, or clients, started to do or say things that would indicate that they thought my background in technology was valuable. They would put me on teams or projects where my ability to understand, translate, or communicate technical topics would help us succeed. First, I went along with it because I thought it was interesting, which clearly is something I've done my whole life. But I eventually realized it was actually making me more successful, so I started to do it more purposefully. I would apply to jobs or opportunities where I got the chance to work with technical teams or on technical projects, and I started to craft my personal story before going into interviews to emphasize this key differentiator. I wasn't just a communications person, I was a communications person with a background and interest in tech, and that was going to help your company succeed, and it worked. So, and I'm sure at this point you're all wondering, that was great, I was being successful, what happened, how did I get here, what? So, for a variety of different reasons, which could be a whole separate talk, I reached a point in my life and my career where I felt like I needed a big change. At this point, I had proven to myself that my background in tech was valuable in communications. And so I thought to myself, what if I flipped the model around? What if I went for a technical role and used my communication skills as a differentiator? Would that work? Could I find the same kind of success? More importantly, could I finally squash that idea of that binary and prove to myself that there was no one standard definition of what it means to be in tech? So I went for it. I took over a year to skill up, both in my own time and then through a boot camp. And it was a lot of hard work, I'm not gonna lie, it was a bit of a risky move too, but I loved it, and I knew in my gut that this was the right thing for me and at that time. And more than anything else, I was pretty determined to prove them wrong, whether it was that math teacher, my classmates, the industry, or even myself to prove that I could succeed in this field and that I could belong. So I finished studying, I came back, I hustled for a while, I started freelancing, and eventually I got a job here at Rangle as a software developer. Getting that offer and making it to the end of my first year was the best kind of validation. Wow, I'm getting emotional. Was the best kind of It was the best kind of validation that my hypothesis was correct. Whew. I had the development skills that would enable me to build quality products for our clients, but I also had the communication skills. Jennifer, I can see you, you're making me. But I had the communication skills that made me be a better teammate, consultant, and now leader. And through this experience, I've learned, don't cry. No, it's Sharon. Okay, sorry. This is what happens when you do a talk where you work. Okay. Through this experience, I've learned that not only is that skill set binary false, but that there's no one definition of what it means to be a software developer or a communication specialist. In fact, we need people with a variety of experiences, whether that's someone who's had a straight path in their career and has deep knowledge in one area, or someone who's done a mix. All of us bring unique perspectives, skills, and experiences to the teams that we join and the things that we build and put out in our communities. So these days, I spend a lot of time trying to pay it forward. Both in this role and through programs like Bridge, I spend a lot of time teaching, mentoring, and coaching. I didn't do this on my own without any support or help. And so it's really important to me that I pay that forward. And so I spend a lot of time with people trying to help them figure out who they are and what they want to be, give them exposure to the real opportunities in the workforce and what skills are actually needed, and to help them get there, and to help people realize that with determination and support, they can achieve their goals. Thank you.